So now that we've got it a little bit more manageable, we can see how it's going to feel this way. And I can actually, the blade comes to here, so I can actually take this in some more. See, my guard is here, and I'm going to stitch it all the way to here. So I'm going to put a little mark here to make sure I've got plenty of room for the tip. I'm just kind of feeling where it's at underneath there. So I'm going to stop stitching it about right here, or about right there. Just put a little tick on there, and I said that'll leave this piece open to give it some room to grow. And if I need to later on, I can come back up with a stitch or two in here to tighten it up as it loosens up. So that is basically how it's going to be shaped. And I'm actually going to take this in a good bit more, since the blade is so narrow. I'm going to come across it, say about like that. I don't really plan how my sheaths are going to look when I'm doing this. I just kind of go with the flow. So sometimes I make changes and they work, sometimes I make changes and they don't. And I've always got, you know, plenty of leather to redo this one since it's such a small knife. So now we've got the basic shape cut out. Before we actually glue and stitch it, we're going to want to rivet this piece down. So let me get some rivets and the drill, and I'll be right back with you. Alright guys, got my drill bit and my drill. I'm going to do this with a hand drill. I've got a drill press that you can use, but I'm just going to do it with a hand drill for right now. Got some rivets here. They come in different sizes. Being how thin this leather is, I'm going to use the smaller of the two. Get my die. And don't really need the punch side, but it helps to kind of set it. Since I hammer them flat, really not going to need it that much. We will set this out of the way for the time being, and then we will drop the punch on the floor. I'm going to get a little silicone pad here just so I don't damage the table any. Get these. Now you could sew this over if you wanted to, but I'm choosing not to. And since I want this to ride up a little bit high, because it's probably going to be a neck knife anyway, I'm going to do it about like so. And I know about where I need to drill, but you can lay the rivet on there and get you an idea of about where your hole's going to be. And then just very carefully keeping a finger on either side of where your hole's going to be drilled. Just give it a quick little drilling. And then just kind of wallow the hole out a little bit. Sometimes you need to wallow it a little bit more to get everything to fit, but you get lucky on the first try every now and then. You want it to be kind of snug because you don't want it sliding around too much. Alrighty, you got just your back plate die. You'll set your rivet down in that. We'll hammer with my clamps here. Put your cap on the other side of the rivet, and then using your punch, kind of make sure everything's lined up. give it a few whacks just to set it. And then, like I said, I always hammer them flat, because it's going to be on the inside where your handle and your blade and everything's going to be rubbing at anyway. So that's good and snug. Can flatten that just a little bit more. That way it's not sticking out too much. I don't have to worry about it damaging the blade any more than necessary. You can see that's flush and snug. Like I said, this is real thin leather, but I want it kind of thin for what it's going to be used for. If this was a heavier knife, a much larger knife, I'd be using 7/8 ounce, 8 to 9 ounce preferably leather, which is just the thickness of the leather. I'd be using something a lot more durable if this was going to be a large knife. So that's going to look pretty good. Next thing we're going to do, I've just got some quick setting glue here, and I'm going to run if I can get it to start. Here we go. I'm just going to run a bead of this along the outside of this leather where I'm going to be sewing it at. This is mainly just to hold it together while I'm drilling and stitching it. It's not meant to hold the leather together permanently. That's what the threads are for. Put a good bit of this on there. They were out of the regular leather glue, which is really just Elmer's glue. You can use Elmer's, it works just fine, and it don't take that long for it to set up. You get it glued, fold it over, and then just a few clamps around the outside edge of it. Like I said, this is just to get it glued so that you can stitch it. So I'm going to let that sit for a bit. You'll notice I stopped where my little mark is there. So we're going to let that set for just a few, probably won't take it about 10-15 minutes, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how to mark for the drilling that we're going to do to thread it and everything to stitch it up. Alright fellas, be back with you shortly.